ופרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה פרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה ופרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה פרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Ufarasta yama bayama, yama yama.
ופרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה פרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה ופרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה פרצת ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. ופרצת ימה בימה, ימה ימה. ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה, ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה. ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה, ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה. ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה, ימה וקדמה צפונה ונגבה. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. Spread out, spread light, spread love all around the world. ופרצת ימה בימה, ימה ימה. ופרצת ימה וימה, ימה ימה.
Shabbat Shalom. For our online friends, I did turn the microphone on, something I always forget at this point. So we had that opening song by Matisyahu. I actually don't know the other person. I apologize if he's your favorite artist. But hopefully you all know who Matisyahu is, the second taller, thinner guy. He's one of the great musical talents, but was connected with Chabad and Orthodox Judaism for a while, left. And now he's sort of in his own version of traditional Judaism, but teamed up with whoever that was. So that phrase, just as a word of opening, Ufarasta Yama V'Kedma V'Tzvona V'Negba, comes from Genesis 28. It's when they're looking out across the land of Canaan, right, to what is going to ultimately be theirs. And so what we get is Ufaratsta, and you will spread out to Yama. When you have on the end of a Hebrew word, it's toward. It's like toward the Yam. So what is Yam? Yam is sea, right? So Yam HaMelach is the Dead Sea. Yam Tichon is the Mediterranean Sea. So you're going Yama, towards the Yam, so which means you're heading westward. Then Tzfona, Yama, V'Kedma. Kedma would be east. You're heading towards Kedem. If you know the Kedem wine, right? Kedem or Kadima means to go forward. It's actually east. So why would, anybody here want to guess? Why would Kadima or east? Anybody know? It's a hard question. I didn't even ask it correctly. Anybody know the Hebrew reason for why Kadima or Kedem is east? Because it also means first. So it's the first place you see the sun. So Kedem or Kadima is eastward. Yama is westward, if you're in Israel. Saphon is the north. And Negba, just the B and the V are the same, Negev, toward the Negev, towards the Negev. So anyway, it's in Genesis, but that phrase, and there's a song that some of you may know, goes, Ufa Rasta, Ufa Rasta, Ufa Rasta, Yama Vekema, da 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 da. That's the cooler version of that, what we just heard. But you will spread out to all these different directions, and of course, those two artists turned it into You Shall Spread Light in all those different directions. So a sermon on a song, and later we're going to have a song sermon. That works perfectly. We're going to turn in our prayer books to page 120 and 121. In just a moment, I'm going to ask Pat to come up, but I'm going to offer a blessing for our soldiers first. We'll offer this. As for our brothers and sisters in the whole house of Israel who are in distress or captivity on sea or land, may the all-present have compassion on them and lead them from distress to relief, from darkness to light, from oppression to freedom, now swiftly, soon, and let us together say, Amen. And I'd like to ask Pat to come up. So on page 121 on the left, if you're looking at a book with brackets, it's the bracketed number. And then on the left and then the right. And then Pat, we're going to also do the blessing. I'll sing it over the wine, which is here.
Okay.
So first you'll do
Oh,
this.
that's right, we're doing that now. Okay.
Yeah, so this one. Go ahead and read that English.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. I don't know how to use this.
That's my new tool. You can use magic if you want.
Okay. There we go. It's like it's not getting enough. Yes. Yay. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik nir Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. So as Pat holds up the cup of wine, we're going to remember we're trying this where we're going to do it up here on the pulpit first. So as she holds it, we'll sing together. If you know, it's on page 123. It's the same as that sheet right there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'ri harafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu Shabbat kodsho v'ahava ratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishi ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. You want some man shouts?
No.
Okay. Yeah. All right, we'll have some wine after. Switch it over. Thank you, Pat. We have our hosts tonight are Dana Joyce Johnson, who are not well, and so Dana brought food up, but then Dana had to go take care of another sick person. So we have a surrogate of a surrogate, and we thank Pat for stepping in for lighting our Shabbat candles. Page 127 in our prayer book. We continue with just a reading at the top of 127. We'll read responsively. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and we measure failure by what we do not gain. Together, on Shabbat, we seek not to acquire. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. Together, on Shabbat. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember. And so we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We're going to skip forward to page 138 in our prayer book. On 138, we're going to sing Lecha Dodi, but we're going to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. So I'll call them out where we are. This is a melody which we've sung a couple times before, but the great thing about Lecha Dodi, the more you hang around synagogues, you'll learn 100 new melodies for Lecha Dodi. But once you pick it up, it's easy to sing the chorus each time. This is by A.B. Rodenberg, and this melody, but it's very popular at Jewish summer camp. So we're in summer camp mode. So it's got a lot. When you write songs for Jewish summer camps, which I've done, you have to include a lot of la-las, because otherwise you'll never get on the hit parade with that. This has quite a lot of la-las. So even if you don't know, you could sing la-la. La 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 lecha dodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. So we'll do that chorus one more time so you can get it, even though we're going to do it a bunch of times. La 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 lecha dodi, la 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 likrat kala. La 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 la, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad. Shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litilai, ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Second verse. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor havaracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh Shabbat tchila, La 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 lecha dodi. La 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 likrat kala. La 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nekavela. Top of 139, verse 5. Hitoreri. Kiva orech, kumi uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai, alayich niglai, la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala. La 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. The bottom of 139, verse 9. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tola, toch emuneh. Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabe. Ya la 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 lecha dodi. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. If you've ever been to Green Family Camp, which is outside of Waco, or any Jewish summer camp, so you can imagine kind of lakeside, heat, outdoor services, and hundreds of kids and adults singing. It's beautiful. So we welcome in Shabbat. We continue on page 144. Yitkadav yitkadash shemei rabba b'amad yivrachu tev yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'b'yom echon u'b'chayedecho beit Yisrael b'gala u'vizman kariv v'meru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach Yitvar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalam Shemei dekudesha b'reichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru amen. Page 146. If you're able to stand, please do so. Continue with Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 148. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim u'bidvuna meshaneh itim Umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono b'rei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla Adonai tzvaot sho Shmo El chai v'kayam taimid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Together at the bottom in Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 150. Everlasting love that you have offered to your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down, when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and commandments, rejoicing in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Together at the bottom in Hebrew, Pray Atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Praise you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Machuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Machuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat and every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today and teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. Ani Adonai Elohechem. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet. Page 157, at the bottom of the page, the middle of the page, we'll read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, that there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered, and at Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets, instructed by sages, time and again we overcame. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Together, let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Next page. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot, osei fele, nora tehilot, osei fele. Malechutecha, ra'u v'anecha, bokei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. V'nemar kivad Adonai Yaakov, v'galai l'machzimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us, and let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will together. In Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai, Hapores Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael, Ve'al Yerushalayim. We bless you, God, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. בששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Page 162. And on the even-numbered pages that follow, if you're able to stand for the Amidah, please do so as we continue together for the Tefillah. Adonai sifatai titach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. 164. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor, HaNorah, El Elyon, Gomel, Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Ahavot V'imahot, U'mevi Gula L'ifnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol atah Rav V'Hoshia, Morid HaTahal, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Mimit Umekayem, Umatzliach Yeshua, Nemat Alachayot Hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayem HaKol. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yalu Chasecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. If you'd like to be seated, please do so. On page 179, we're going to jump forward a bit. On 179, grant us peace, your most precious gift, eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim that message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace. May we be its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. May you plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and heart. Together in Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. Praise to you, Eternal, who blesses our people with peace. And that text in the middle comes from Isaiah. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo od yilmedu od milchama. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war ever again. This is an aspirational dream, of course, by the great prophet, but Isaiah, but we still sing it. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. לא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. Before we take a moment for silent prayer, I want to do a quick Hebrew lesson because it's fun. So look at the text we just sang on 179. Lo yisa goy. So the word goy, if you Yiddishize it and put a little bit of a spin on it, it may sound pejorative when you're talking about a non-Jew, goy, but it's actually a normal word. It just means nation. Nation, like or la goyim, a light unto the nations, goy. But it can, in Yiddishized form, sound a little bit different. So lo yisa goy al goy, from nation shall not lift up sword against nation. But then lo yilmadu, yilamdu, that lamed mem dalid, Talmud, lomed, right? You shall not learn, or hopefully, od milchama. That's the word I want to focus on, milchama. So if you look at the word milchama in Hebrew, or just hear it, there's 5 letters in Hebrew. So I'm going to get rid of the first letter and the last letter. It's just the way we do Hebrew sometimes. And what you're left with is the root of lamed chet mem, lechem. Where do we know the word lechem from? Hamotzi, lechem, right? It's the one over the challah. So why is the word for bread, lechem, connected to the word milchama? The answer is they absolutely are connected. Because quite often war is when you are missing lechem. War is fought over resources. War is fought over lack of lechem. And so in English, you really, not always, in English you can't do that kind of midrash because that's not the way English was constructed. But Hebrew 100% is. There are root systems in Hebrew, and if you have lamed chet mem, for example, it's always something to do with sustenance, bread, or even the opposite, war. So, milchama is the word for war, but in the middle of it, we can fix it with lechem. So the thought. So we take a moment on 180 and 81 to take a moment of silent prayer and meditation, after which we will sing Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Bimromah, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Share for our friends online. So this week in the Torah portion, we are in a portion called Chukat, and we are deep into the book of Numbers right now. So summer is always the time when we're making our way through the desert in the Torah. We come across a group of people that we get into a fight with, and it either ends amicably or it ends in war. By the way, we're undefeated, just in case. If we were defeated, we wouldn't be here. So we seem to have this benefit of going up against nation after nation after nation. Sometimes it works out well, sometimes not so well. This is the portion this week where we have this unfortunate moment where God asks Moses, or the people are grumbling, not a shock. The people are grumbling, and Moses asks what to do because they're looking for water, and God says, take your staff, your stick, and speak to the rock. And what does Moses do? He hits the rock, and water does come out on the second hit. But because you didn't sanctify my name in front of the people of Israel, you don't get to go into the promised land. Did the punishment fit the crime? Good sermon for another time, not tonight, right? It's very problematic, and I feel even worse for Moses because back in Exodus, this happened before, and God said, take your stick and hit the rock. Right? Now he says, take your stick and speak to the rock. Like, you can forgive him for I did this before, why can't I do it again? But that's what happened. The better answer, of course, from our community is simply that there were multiple versions of the rock water story, and two of them ended up in the biblical text. Fine. But something else happens interesting in this week's portion. If Moses wasn't sad enough that the people are annoying, or as they call it, Tuesday, if he wasn't sad enough that because of this mistake he doesn't get to enter the land, something else tragic happens in this week's portion, and we can see it right here from this week's portion. It says, the Israelites arrived at a body in the wilderness of Tzin, and the first new moon, and the people stayed in Kadesh. Miriam died and was buried there. So Miriam, his sister, passes away. So, of course, over the course of the wandering, Moses' sister Miriam dies. Aaron dies during the wandering as well. He can't enter the land. So he's a leader who has a lot of odds against him, but continues down that path. But it's difficult. But this week, I just want to talk about Miriam, kind of in her memory since she passed away. So in order to appreciate Miriam, and what I'm going to do tonight is a song sermon. I'm going to sing Miriam's song. I'll give that part away. But I want to give us a little bit of biblical context for Debbie Friedman, who wrote it. Every year in late January or in February, we come to this particular text, the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea. You know, when we unroll the Torah around the room, this is the one that everybody's eyes go to because it's the most unique looking block of Torah text. It's because it's got this brick pattern. And we know that if I were to look in their text, one time I had a kid go up to it and I said, I want you to read this. And of course they started trembling. How could you possibly ask me to read on the spot without any rehearsal something from the Torah? I said, just read this. And he was so angry. And I said, just read it. And he goes, Mi chamocha ba'ilim Adonai, mi kam. Oh, right. Okay, that's the mi chamocha, that text, right? I wouldn't be that mean. It's like I could do that in Deuteronomy 6:4 where I make you read the Shema, right? But this is that text. Just a sweet thought. Yesterday, we had a memorial service in Nacogdoches for Shannon Ellsworth, husband of Sherry Ellsworth, son-in-law of Shirley Waterston. And at the reception afterward, after we did the memorial service, some woman came up to me and introduced herself, and she said, don't you remember me? Which I don't like that question. Don't you remember me? I came and played piano for part of a music recital as part of a musical service. Started to, I know who she is now, but it started to connect with me a bit. And then she said, it was the one where it was late January, early February, and you were honoring like the wandering of where they would come to the waters. I mean, she couldn't have gotten it more correct. She remembered that it had something to do with this passage, because when we read this passage, we have a special service called Shabbat Shira, the Sabbath of Song. And she said, and I was playing piano, and Yevgeny Raichev, Dr. Raichev was playing cello. Oh, right. So that, for those of you who remember years ago, it was normally now we have the 4-part choir that sings, but this was a musical recital as part of that music Shabbat. She remembered it and had a lot of good feelings and memories from it. We do too, right? Because we love this particular moment where we come up to the waters get parted, we get to the other side, and what do we sing? That text on the screen. Az Yashir Moshe Uvnei Yisrael. Thus sang Moses and the children of Israel at the shores of the sea. And then they start singing this war victory song, including Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. But then there's a beautiful text that comes afterwards. So you imagine this raucous group of people dancing and singing on this side, the good side of the water. And here back in Exodus, we find that Miriam the prophetess, Aaron's sister, interesting that the Torah calls her Aaron's sister, not Moses' sister, but let's leave that alone. Miriam the prophetess took her timbrel in her hand, her tambourine, and all the women went out after her to dance in timbrels. Miriam chanted for them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and driver he has hurled into the sea." And then I cut it off there. Part of me wanted to just cut that last line out because I thought, well, I don't want to muddy the waters. But we get into some of the repeated texts from this song before. It's like if you read this text, it also says horse and driver hurled into the sea, because that's what happened. Let's not focus on the horses and the drivers in the sea. Let's focus on Miriam running around, jumping around, and dancing. That as everybody is cheering, we have kind of the key female of that moment, Miriam, dancing around as well and getting everybody to whoop it up. Well, along comes many years later, the queen of Jewish music, Debbie, of blessed memory, who wrote probably half of the songs that we sing in our service. And Debbie wrote out a song honoring Miriam called Miriam's Song. So I'm going to sing that tonight. That was a long way to get to just Rabbi's going to sing a song. But it's based in this really beautiful moment of joy, and you'll hear it played out if you don't know the song already. And this is also a camp song. So imagine those kids at camp singing that Lachadodi at the beginning, and then during song session, they'll be singing this song, screaming as loud as possible the chorus. I'm not going to scream it. I'm going to make it a little more temple appropriate. But I had AI generate Miriam dancing around with some people. I love AI generated stuff. I said use earth tones and make it in the style of Marc Chagall. And that's what it came up with. So we'll sing together. If you know the words, you're welcome to sing with the words of Miriam's Song by Debbie Friedman. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances towards the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And Miriam stood upon the shore and gazed across the sea. The wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Who ever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land? And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. Now when I go from this third verse into the chorus, I'm going to sing it like they would at camp, adding in a couple of the little silly parts. And Miriam, the prophetess, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. 5, 6, 7, 8, and the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole one part I didn't do that was camp is they stop the music in that third verse and they go, Miriam raised her voice in song, we sang with praise and might. We just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. You get the idea. The kids are too hoarse. Miriam. But it's a fun song, and Debbie nailed it, I think, as a song of joy, as a song of love, a song of celebration there on the shores of the sea. And this week in our portion, as we remember the death of the prophetess Miriam, we offer that song in her memory. Shabbat Shalom. By the way, that was like a number one request song at camp. Are you going to do Miriam song? You can do Miriam song. You do it 5 times a day, and it gets a little old after a while. But it's a wonderful song to sing. Let me cut out there. Stop share. All right, I'm going to share some announcements from the congregation before we continue in our service. We had a few birthdays. We had a number of birthdays this past week from just this congregation, not from Longview. But, we had Natalie Ginsburg, happy birthday. Cliff Burke, I think they're traveling. I forgot where. I always follow them on Facebook. They're somewhere not in Texas. But Wanda Rauscher had her birthday this past week. On Sunday, Joey Lineberger. Rabbi Gene Levy had his birthday this past week as well. And yesterday was Jim Plus's birthday. For those of you who Ladine passed away a few months ago. Jim just moved to Dallas this week. For those of you who know him out of Lufkin, he now is officially at the age of, 80s, 85, 88 or something like that. He now just moved to Dallas this week to be near his kids. But yesterday was his birthday and he's doing well. So we wish them all Mazel Tov. Our pulpit flowers were placed here by the Bethel Sisterhood Flower Fund, and our Oneg hosts were Joyce and Dan Johnson. Of course, Dan's been sick and Joyce just got sick this week. But we want to thank them for providing the Oneg food for tonight. Next week on the 19th, regular services, but you get a special treat. Margie Victor will be leading the services. I'll be out of town. I'm actually going to be working with a congregation in Houston next week. But regular service time, and we'll be online as well, thanks to Amelia. But Margie will be leading the services, and I want to thank her in advance for that. Final announcement is, if you go to our website, there's really nothing to sign up for, although you could certainly email the temple and say, I'm coming. But on Sunday, July 28th, so a couple Sundays from now, at 1 p.m., there's going to be bingo. It's the first time we've done it. It'll be in the social hall. It's exactly what it sounds like, Beth El Bingo. It's just for fun. You have to buy cards. You can buy some daubers. Stephanie's got some daubers for sale there. Not a ton, but have that. And that's it. Then there'll be like whatever bingo is, right? Like there'll be examples on the screen of how the blackout and the designs and whatever. So you win money, yes. Yeah, you can win money. Yeah. Oh, I guess I should lead with that, right? Yeah, there's money at stake here. By the way, bingo money. Just want to be clear, like bingo money. So whatever. I don't know what it is, but depends on how many people are here. But I think a pack of 10 is $10 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be fun, but anybody who wants to come out Sunday afternoons, grab lunch and then come on over here. You can bring your own food. We're not really doing food here, but you can bring stuff. So that's Sunday, July 28th. And again, strangely, it's not like a sign-up thing. So if Sunday morning you wake up, you're like, I'm in a bingo mood. Bethel Bingo. There we go. Are there any other announcements, Jen? Okay. I'm going to offer a blessing for those in our community in need of healing, Amisha Berach. May the one who blessed our ancestors be present to those in our community in need of healing and strength. We pray for continued strength for Martin Muntz, who is over at a kind of a higher level unit tonight, or this past couple weeks, as hopefully he finds some strength. Adele Regan and her continued strength, and Sheila Rust, who I'm glad to see. I was looking for green, and my eyes went there. Thank you. And Howard Kravitz for continued strength, for Monica Miller and Barbara Green and Carla Bailey, for Dan and Joyce Johnson, as I mentioned earlier, our Oneg hosts, for the Yantis family and Heather Parks, and for Baruch Ben Rosa. And with our friends at Emmanuel Longview, Jordy Solomon and Sue Ann Day, Audrey Carroll and Grace Eddings and Joe, Joseph. And I'm going to add one name just as a word of support for the Hart family. I'm sharing this because some of you may know the Hart, H-A-R-T. Many, many years ago, before my time, there was Charles and Jan Hart, were members of this congregation. I think they live in Temple or Waco now, but he was the head. For many times, he was the head of the Jewish Historical Society. So I'm talking to the online community as well, some people who may have heard of Charles Hart, who passed away this week. So we're not doing a Kaddish for him because he hasn't had the burial yet, to my knowledge. But our prayers are with the Hart family during this time. Baruch atah Adonai merapeh hacholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals the sick. Together we say, Amen. We turn in our prayer book to page 586. On page 586. If you're able to stand at the bottom of the page, let us continue with Aleinu together. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liyotzeh breshit, shelo asam kirei haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anamnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'godim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. To page 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, u'shemo echad. Page 598. Come to the Mourner's Kaddish. This week we are in Shloshim, the month passing after the death of Shannon Ellsworth, again at Shirley Watterson's son-in-law. We had a beautiful, they were members of a congregation in Houston, but they had a memorial service there, but they had one for the Nagadoches community yesterday that myself and Rabbi Levy led, which was really nice, and just our prayers are with them during this month of mourning. We are honoring the yahrzeits tonight of Max Saffer, John Regan, Sandra Greenberg Goodman, Burma Dean Levine, Zora Golden, Anna Shapiro Grossman, and Selig Eidelberg. And this is his first yahrzeit. Selig is Adele Regan's brother-in-law who passed away a year ago. As we remember all of them together, let us recite the words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudashah b'reichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam levracha, may their memories continue to be a blessing. Amen. Please be seated. Turn to page 632. In just a moment, we'll have a closing song. So, two things. In a moment when we conclude, I'm going to offer a blessing over the bread so we can go straight out to Chalaville and get your wine and get your challah. Just go grab it and go straight to the food, so that way we don't have to wait. The blessings were done up here. And I just want to share, I promise this isn't another sermon, but just a thought. This past Sunday, I was invited to speak at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Longview. It may have been my 20th time speaking there over many years, very close with that group. Also Lufkin and Tyler and Huntsville and Plano and Dallas I've spoken. I'm kind of on the Unitarian circuit. And so I've spoken since October 7th. I've spoken twice in Lufkin and once in Tyler to the UUs, easily. Like those groups were incredibly receptive, even though in my mind I felt like maybe there'll be some pushback, but there wasn't. It was a lot of, we just didn't know what we didn't know. Let's learn and hear from the rabbi what the lived experience of the Jewish community is. Longview was different, and I expected it to be different. It was really a wonderful group, but because I have this relationship with them, it was a little more gritty than anybody would have expected. And I was kind of hoping one particular person wasn't going to be there, the guy who doesn't like Jews or Judaism or Israel, and tells me that every time I'm there. But he zoomed in to the service from South America, where he was on a vacation, but he made sure to be there so he could yell at me on Zoom. So it was nice. I did my talk, and I did it in 4 parts. 1, what happened on October 7th. This was my first time talking to this group. 2, what has continued since October 7th. 3, what has been the American Jewish community's response? That was the deepest part of my talk, right? So organizational, disaffiliation, encampments, disinformation, politics, you name it, that was that part. And 4 was, where do we go from here? And then there was what's called the talk back section after the service, where it got really contentious. But it was all love. Somebody wrote me a note afterward from that church and said, I feel bad that you were sort of attacked. A machloket l'shem shamayim, an argument for the sake of heaven, is okay. Right? To be in dialogue with somebody, not to try and convince them or talk them down. One woman started out her thing with this prolonged preface about how anytime she brought it up, people called her an anti-Semite. I said, kind of depends on what you're getting ready to say next, right? Let me hear what you got to say. I go, no, I don't consider it anti-Semitic, but we're so sensitive to have these conversations, but it reminds us collectively how we need to bone up on our own vocabulary, our own information, our own history, so that way we can properly have, with love, these kinds of conversations, because we already know how this ends. We already know the ending. Israel wins, right? That's a given, right? Because there's no version in history where Israel hasn't won. And so the question is, what will it look like after? What will the Palestinian community look like after? What will the world realignment look like after? That's really the crux of what's going on. And there will be pain to get between here and there. And our prayers are for there, right? That one day nation will not lift up sword against nation. Nobody wanted this. So it's a war that Israel didn't want, but it's a war that Israel needs, but it's also a war that Israel needs to end. So I'm just sharing this with you without going to talk about the entirety of what I said on Sunday, but sometimes these contentious meetings are also very fruitful, and we shouldn't be afraid to be messy sometimes in that conversation. All right. On page 632, we're going to close with Ein Adir, not a song we do often here, but it made me think, as we were talking about Miriam being called Aaron's sister, right? Like, what if Moses is sitting off to the side? What am I, chopped liver, right? I love the fact that this song is about Moses, but it never mentions Moses' name. It mentions Moses as Amram's son. I promise you, ask 100 Jews who Moses' parents were, 99 will not know. Amram and Yocheved. It's just not spoken about. But there's an entire song called Amram's son, talking about Moses. So, and it's a Sephardic tune. So if you know it, sing along. If not, you'll pick up the top 2 lines pretty easily. It's from the mouth of God, all of Israel is blessed. None as mighty as God. No one is blessed as Moshe, Amram's son. And then it kind of goes through poetically. Mipiel, Yevorach kol Yisrael, Ein Adir Kadonai, Ve'ein Baruch Kevein Amram, Ein Gedolah Katorah, Ve'ein Darshanei Haka Yisrael, Mipiel, Yevorach kol Yisrael, Ein Hador Kadonai, Ve'ein Kati Kevein Amram, Ein Zakah Katorah, Ve'ein Chachamei Haka Yisrael, Mipiel, Yevorach kol Yisrael, Ein Tahor Kadonai, Ve'ein Yachi Kevein Amram, Ein Kavira Katorah, Ve'ein Labdanei Haka Yisrael, Mipiel umipiel Yevorach kol Yisrael Ein podek Adonai Ve'en tzadik keve'en Amram Ein kedosha katorah Ve'en tomchecha ka Yisrael Mipiel umipiel Yevorach kol Yisrael. Together, let us say the blessing over the challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Will join us in the social hall.